Budgets. Who really needs them? Well, that's what we're going to go over. My name is Daniel Young, and this presentation is for Accounting 6100 at Southern Utah University for the MBA program. Now, budgets are an interesting topic because they can go both ways, meaning there's incentives and there's disincentives for both sides. There's always two sides to every transaction, and there's pros and cons. Keep that in mind as we go through this. The incentives matter because an employee, if they limit themselves to the goals that they have set, meaning the budgets, then they only have the incentive to go so far. If they do not go above and beyond, then that can decrease the company. Managers only have enough incentive to increase just enough to receive that bonus. If they only increase just enough to receive that bonus, then they are only providing for their own incentives and not moving forward for the company. Managers can also cut costs in areas that they shouldn't. Now, there are different kinds of budgets where budgets may the bonuses may be based off of costs, or they may be based off of sales, and so on, depending on the position that you're in with the company. However, if the incentive is based on cost, then they may cut costs where they aren't needed. Managers may spend everything they have on budgeted if there are no incentives to spend less, right? So they may, if they didn't spend enough, they may spend it on frivolous spending, irresponsible spending that is not going to be good for the company, but hey, is what the amount that was budgeted for, so they'll spend it. So that's the incentives that go along with that. Central control leads to less motivated employees and managers. If these employees and managers are not involved with the budgeting themselves, then they lose the incentive to really care. And if the employees and managers don't care about the company, then they're only doing what they feel is best. It's not going to work out very well. With a lot of these budgets, there's a lot of less communication. The people on top are creating these budgets. The people below really aren't being involved. However, without using budgets, there does need to be even more more communication, because you have, as the budgets are created, or plans, so they say, move forward and are created continuously, there has to be a lot of motivation and a lot of communication between different parts of the company. There's a lot of moving pieces that go into that. There's a lot of good communication, because sometimes if you have too many people trying to do the same thing, it leads to chaos. So one of the growing problems with this is that 30% of management's time was involved with this. That is a lot of time. That is that's about 2.5 hours of every 8-hour day simply dealing with budgets. When there are other things, investment, acquisitions, other parts of the business that will be better to handle, and things that are probably more important. That's about 25,000 person days of 1 billion of revenue. That is a ton of time, and this lowers the innovation. So that plays a huge part, and these budgetary decisions can turn into earnings management. This is when we strictly, work towards the budget, and that's not good. We want to do what's best for the company, and sometimes we have to go away from the budget at times, and that's important to be able to kind of move away from that when needed. A lot of the new incentives are bonuses relative to other managers. When we move away from budgets, an incentive to do that is, you're not based off of simply a set criteria. You are based off of what other managers do. If you do the best out of the other managers, you're going to get the best incentive. Competition drives increased performance. This is an exceptional idea that people must understand, that competition is important. As we move forward, in our society, it's not just in business. Competition is important. As your employees are It doesn't have to be hostile competition, but as these employees compete, and as their incentives are not simply based on just a set numbered criteria, they can increase their performance. There's less stress to follow the budget. As we follow the budget, we may, sales. There's a lot of issues going on with budgets that they may not so much falsify their sales, but people will buy and then return it the next year, or they purchase the item, return it the next year, so their sales in that given year are okay, or they'll wait and buy it the next. If they're already at the limit, they'll wait to purchase it the next year. Tell the buyer, just purchase it next year so it makes my sales better. So, I mean, those manipulations of the sales is what causes a lot of problems. So, and the ability to distribute decision controls to managers without budgets, you can distribute that. Delegate the resources. Make other people do their job and create decisions for their own. Let the managers be managers and manage. Again, decrease micromanagement. Costs decrease as we turn away from budgets. Employee turnover decreases. Rolling forecasts. This is what I was mentioning earlier. Rolling forecasts are important because that means it's continually moving. Continually. There's no year to year to year. I mean, there are forecasts for 1 year, right? But as it continually increases, there's a lot of communication that needs to go on. And it's extremely important that if rolling forecasts are used, that the company truly pays attention to what's going on. So, I mean, we have, as managers are given increased performance and incentives, they will do better. In conclusion, we talked about the incentives matter and policies create incentives. The policies that the company creates with their employees and salesmen or managers, those create incentives, good or bad. And there may be bad incentives to every situation and good incentives to every situation. But it is up to we need to let the managers manage and do their job accordingly. Again, budgets do take time and effort. They take a lot of time out of the higher levels of management. As we can delegate these opportunities, we have an opportunity to increase our communication with others, and data will be readily available. So that's budgets. Why do we need them? They are important as a guideline to move forward and know our goals, but we should not be basing our incentives and bonuses and criteria off of these budgets in order to make the company better. Communication is important, and thank you for your time. Again, my name is Daniel Young, and this was a presentation for my Accounting 6100 class for my MBA program at Southern Utah University. Thank you.